Avril Lavigne's When You Are Gone is a masterclass in pop songwriting, and in today's video I'm going to walk you through all these brilliant chord changes and show you what's musically neat about some of my favorite parts. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time. I'm quite the closet Avril fan, so don't tell anyone, okay? But I'm going to have to wait just a few more seconds because I'd like to use those seconds to thank the following people for signing up for the Patreon supporter of the Cause Club: Nicholas Glosser, Tyler Lawrence, Josh, Aurelia Oberly, Jeff Kinney, Chris Mills, and Vilmer Ulander. Thank you very much for your support. If you would like to find out what that's all about, the link will be in the description. The intro is a piano riff that happens over two chords. They are C and E minor. So you could either kazoo the piano. That's a sentence. Kazoo the piano. Or do this. You might want to use your thumb, where I'm using my middle finger, and this is a little tricky to coordinate, but I'm getting it down slowly. So the E string 8th fret is the C note out of our C chord, plus the B string 7th fret. I'm going to give those two strings a pluck, hammer on to B8, and then hammer on to G9. Do that twice, but I'm only going to hit the bass note once. Then it's the open E string out of our E minor chord, and the first half is the same so far as the B and G strings are concerned. But the last one doesn't end on G9, it ends on E10. So let's see if I can do that for you. Smooth. Okay, you do that however many times it happens, and then you make your way all the way down here to D. But D suspended 4. Start with your pinky on the E string 3rd fret, and you just pluck from the D string. Then you take your pinky finger off and pluck your way back towards your face. Okay, we've made it to the verse. I'm going to have some fun with chords here. For instance, if the chord is E minor, you're always invited to play E minor 7. So if you'd rather play a different version of the chords I mentioned, great. But the first chord is G. The next chord is a D chord, but it's got an F sharp in the bass. It's D with an F sharp in the bass, aka the better man chord. E2, G2, B3. And then E minor. I'm going to play E minor 7 like I said, and the one I'm going to play is like G, but with an open E string. C add 9. And D, and you gotta throw that sus4 in there. So here's your verse: G, D with an F sharp, E minor 7, C add 9, D, and you do that twice. The pre-chorus: when you walk away, right? It's A minor. I'm going to play A minor 7. G with a B in the bass. It's A2 and D3. I'm only going to strum from A to B. Regular C for me this time. And it hangs on D sus4. So, when you walk away, A minor 7, G with a B in the bass, the sparkle of hanging on that sus4 there. I love it. And you know what else I love about that part is the rising bass note. So, the bass note of an A minor chord, of course, is A. The bass note of G with a B in the bass is, of course, B. The bass note of a C chord is, of course, C. And the bass note of a D chord is D. So, the A string, when you're playing it on the guitar, went. And that shows you the importance of playing G with a B in the bass there, because if you play G with a G in the bass, then you remove the A string's B-ness, And we should never remove the A string's B-ness. The chorus begins on a C chord, and you can play normal C if you want. I'm going to play C add 9. And when you listen to this song, you may notice there's a certain mysterious sparkle on that first chord, and that is this. It's the lead guitar going like this. And you can do that on either C chord. It's the D string. Just start with it off, hammer on, and then pluck away. So I'm going to use C add 9. E minor, D, do it again, C add 9, E minor, D, then A minor or A minor 7, C, G, D with an F sharp in the bass, and C, D. And that's your chorus. The bridge is where it gets really, really cool. Starts with B minor. I'm going to show you the chords, and then I'm going to show you everything about it that's really, really cool. B minor, we were made for each other. C, G, D with an F sharp in the bass, and real quick, B7. Then E minor, C. Here's a chord. It's A with a C sharp in the bass. You can play regular A if you want. I'm going to emphasize the bass note C sharp on the 4th fret of the A string, and then one finger A it down there with my pointer finger, and D. So here we go. B minor, C, G, D with an F sharp in the bass, B7, E minor, C, A with a C sharp, and D. So the chromatic scale, we know about major scales and minor scales, and scales are some series of whole and half steps, but the chromatic scale is all half steps, which means it's literally just every single note, without skipping any. A chromatic riff is a riff that doesn't skip any notes, or you can put chords together that have notes that are right next to each other each time, and that's what this bridge is all about, and I love chromatic things. So if we start with B minor, to C, to G, to D with an F sharp, but the B7 is where all the fun begins, because, of course, the main point of a D chord is the D note, that's the root note, and the B7 chord has been employed because there's a D sharp note snuck right in there on the D string, B7, A2, D1, G2, E2. So we're already thinking, and then E minor, which of course is an E note. The strings do something really cool here. They go to walk down chromatically into C from our E note, D sharp, D, C sharp, C. And then of course the A with the C sharp in the bass was employed because we're walking from C to C sharp and then up to D. So there's no section in there once we get to that D with an F sharp in the bass that doesn't do something chromatic. That's your wonderful bridge. And that's how you play this wonderful song. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed that. Took me a little while to screw up the courage to do that, but last Softball Sunday we did When You're Gone by the Cranberries, so I figured I had an excuse. I hope that was fun and helpful, and if you think a playthrough would help your learning process, you will find that on my Patreon page. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you next time with more stuff. Goodbye.